The play that we based our play off of was Macbeth. With our play, we wanted to convey the idea that greed will always result in corruption, and this leads to destroying a person's morals. And when this happens, a person will always drop everything that they had and do anything they can to climb higher, on the social chain.
I'm here to talk about the many ways we modernized our play as a different version of Macbeth. One of the major examples was the Facebook cyberbullying that I and Rachel did to Becca over Facebook, and it represented the new challenges that teenagers face, and it also showed modernization because although there was many struggles in Macbeth, obviously none of them were on Facebook because there were no computers. This modern technology is a way for teenagers nowadays to deal with their problems. Becca is very frustrated at Isaac, but the iPhone is a way for her to take out her frustration and her anger without actually having to face it. When Isaac is driving under the influence of alcohol and checking his iPhone for Snapchat, we see the severe repercussions of today's teenagers' actions.
So one of the stylistic choices we made was that we noticed that in Macbeth they use sonnets before every single act. So a sonnet is a type of poem, and the way we interpreted it was to take a modern twist. We would use songs, which are essentially poems put to music, to portray what's going to happen in the scene, how certain characters are feeling, just to intensify the mood of the scene. Another song I thought was very important in our play was called Nobody's Home by Avril Lavigne, and it was played after Isaac kind of pushed Becca aside, and he was sitting with Courtney and Rachel at lunch, and she was sitting all by herself. And while it's sad in a way, it's also upbeat, which is why we chose to include their flashbacks of their friendship in that scene, but we also at the end showed her sitting alone again when the lyrics say broken inside, because that's really how we thought Becca felt at that moment.
One example of a stylistic approach we used was dramatic irony. The most apparent example of dramatic irony in our play was in Act 5, Scene 1, where Becca can hear Courtney, Rachel, and Isaac's conversation, and the audience can see this, but Isaac does not know she's listening.
Another stylistic choice we made was foreshadowing, and we did this 4 times throughout the play. The first time was when Becca knocks over the picture in the very beginning, and it's a picture of her and Isaac, and the picture breaks, so this is foreshadowing the later collapse of their friendship. And then the voices in the very beginning of the play it was Isaac's mom yelling that they won the lottery. When Isaac talks about his dad getting into a car crash, and that's how he died, this foreshadows how Becca dies in the play. And then when Isaac opens the Snapchat right before they crash, you can see an airbag in the background, and this foreshadows the crash.
The costuming choices was a really important symbol, especially in Act 1, Scene 2, with my shirt. It was white at first, kind of symbolizing my purity, but then when Rachel throws the tomato at me, it shows that I got stained, and it also kind of foreshadows a little bit that she's the one and Courtney are the ones that stain my purity.
So another symbol we used was the pyramid of speed stacks that Becca builds up in the flashback, and it symbolizes the long build-up of her and Isaac's friendship, and then the rapid collapse.
In our play, we use Courtney slamming a locker as a symbol for almost a snap back to reality for Becca. She thought Isaac was going to be friends, she thought maybe he would bring her into a popular crowd, but he kind of just ditches her. Having Courtney and Rachel bully Becca is kind of a snap back to reality, because Isaac is friends with them, and even though he knows that she's being bullied by them, and it just kind of intensifies how badly Becca feels.
some of the scenes we included in our play were like the iPhone conversation and like cyberbullying. These are such like modern issues now. We kind of relate this to like a Disney movie because all our characters are pretty cliche. Like you have Isaac, who's like the cliche teenager, just wants to be popular, and then you have like Courtney and Rachel. They're like the cliche popular girls, like pretty and like bullies, and they're mean to everyone. And then Becca, who's like the cliche nerd, doesn't have any friends, and then like the plot twist at the end gets emphasized by all this clichéness because you think it's like a Disney movie where it's just gonna end with oh perfectly everything's gonna be resolved when it just doesn't.
Hey guys, I'm Courtney, and I think our play definitely should have gotten like a Grammy or an Oscar or whatever you call it, because it was just really good.
Okay, so in hindsight, I think that we should have like made the play a little shorter. It would have been easier to film. Maybe like cut out some unnecessary parts, and I don't know, it just would have been easier on everyone.
I definitely learned from this project like how hard playwriting is, especially in like a group, because everyone has to agree on something and like the whole idea.
We learned a lot about Shakespeare, and especially we learned about how hard making stylistic choices is, like setting certain props up, setting like the weather, like the scenery, what people are wearing. Like we noticed that there was a lot of different stylistic choices that he made that we might not have noticed while we were reading, but they're there and it took a lot of care for him to put in.
We were really proud of this play.